Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sunday afternoon panel. I have with me 4 very experienced Toastmasters, perhaps dedicated Toastmasters, or some amazing kind of vocabulary word we could use to describe them. They've all been in Toastmasters for more than 20 years, and that is such an amazing, stellar effort. So big congratulations to you all. Let me tell you who's with me today. So I have our International Director from Region 12, Leslie Storkey. Leslie, give us a wave. And I have a past District Governor, back when we had District Governors, Sandra Simpson. Sandra, give us a wave. And then I have 2 other dedicated Toastmasters who have risen up the ranks to be Division Director or Division Governor, depending on the time frame. I have Bevan Irvine and Marietta Wetzig. So welcome, everybody, to your Sunday afternoon panel. I really appreciate you giving up your time to have a chat about your experiences in Toastmasters. And that's really where I want to kick off today. Like me, you've been around for a little while, and you probably remember Toastmasters being a little bit different when we all joined. And things have changed a little bit, especially in the last 12 months. So I'd love to know, what was it like when you first joined, and how are you coping with where we are now? Who would like to kick off? Don't be shy.
I'll go.
Thanks, Leslie.
When I joined Toastmasters way up in the north in the Whitsunday Club, my first role was secretary. And that's in the days when we had those pieces of paper that came in the letterbox, you know, snail mail. And I learned so much about the big picture. And I know Sandra loves the thought about the big picture. So that was a huge change that we've evolved there. And some of those technological advances have been incredible. Some of them, I think, have meant that we have needed to be very careful that we still are a communications organisation.
Yeah. Bevan, do you remember what you had in your first icebreaker? What did you say about yourself?
No, I don't, but I do remember the occasion. I don't know what I talked about. I had been in the Army or the CMF for a number of years, and I thought I could speak quite well to people. Anyway, my first evaluation showed that, I wasn't that good as far as Toastmasters was concerned. I was confident, but I expected a little bit more praise, you might say, in my icebreaker. But I do recall Tropic City being a vibrant club, and there was a guy, our Sergeant at Arms, Pedro, I'll just use his first name, Pedro. He was dressed in an Air Force, what do they call it, formal dress. He had this white coat on with three gold chevrons on each sleeve. And as I walked in, I saw Pedro there, and I thought, am I going to Toastmasters, or am I going to some sort of military occasion? But no, that was the way Pedro dressed as Sergeant at Arms in Tropic City in my first year there.
It sounds very serious.
Nicky, I have to tell you, when I first joined Toastmasters, I was so nervous. All I can remember from my first 5 years of being in a Toastmaster, standing up and my heart thumping so hard and so loudly, I swear people had to have seen my shirt lifting up and down. So in terms of change, for me, the biggest change is that the thumping is much quieter now. But in terms of snail mail or technology, to me, that's just part of the world has changed that way. So I don't see that as a big deal. For me, the change has been my growth and the fact that I can sit here and my knees actually not knock under the table. So yeah, that's the big change.
What about you, Sandra? What's been the big change?
Just going to say, one of the things was at that time I was a member down on the Gold Coast, and we used to have people, and all the clubs used to have a desk by the doorway which had all magazines, manuals, everything. So anybody walking in as a new Toastmaster, brand new to it, could actually have a look and see the plethora of items that were available within the Toastmaster program. which I think all that now is sort of time is too short. Nobody bothers with anything like that these days, and we don't necessarily have all that material. But I think that introduced people to a lot of the things that were available within Toastmasters that they're not necessarily aware of until they're well into it today.
So you could see visually the breadth of our program right in front of you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that
It
really
sounds like it was a really innovative club to do that. Not all clubs were that organised.
Yeah, we've only ever had a full
was.
set of manuals once in my whole lifetime. So yeah, that's a really good club. Marianne,
Well, I think the other thing.
Oh, you
go on, sorry, Nicky. No, I was just going to say one of the other things to show how old it was the fact that our first newsletter that came out to the members was a cut and paste job.
and probably poor Leslie as the secretary had to post it out to people.
Well, yeah, different club, but that sort of thing, yes. I mean, the secretary had a lot of work to do in those days.
So, Marianne, I want to pick up on something you've said about nerves in particular, because I know that's a big area where I've had personal growth as well. And I'm going to totally put you on the spot here and say, what still makes you nervous in the Toastmasters arena, or maybe in the real life arena? Do you still get that thumping sometimes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To me, it's a case of it's what I want to achieve and whether I'm meeting my own expectations. And also, well, if you're representing a group, you don't want to shame them like in a contest. You want to, it's not just for yourself, you're representing your club or your area. Yes, I do get nervous. So I just, as I said, the thumping is just a lot less.
What about you, Bevan? You always seem so cool as a cucumber. What still gets your heart racing?
Look, my worst experience was making a speech for myself to be elected as LGM years and years ago on the Gold Coast. I just couldn't believe my knees shook so much that I just blew it. I lost it. After a minute, I walked off. I couldn't believe it.
Bevan?
And I'd been a Northern Division governor. I've been to a number of conventions, but I just blew it this occasion. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I went down and drowned my sorrows.
How long had you been in Toastmasters at that point?
I suppose it was about 1998. I've been in about 7 years.
Yeah, okay. So you had a lot of experience still, and it still threw you.
Yeah.
Good on
But
you
now
for
I
dusting yourself
feel
off and
comfortable.
sticking with it.
Yeah, I feel comfortable speaking to anyone at this stage. I do some outside speaking about other subjects that I'm interested in. I talk to Lions clubs and Rotary clubs, and I don't have a real problem talking to them because I know what I'm talking about. That's the main thing.
And that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you know what you're talking about, you've prepared it. Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Now, Leslie, you've just run for a big office, and
Yeah.
I imagine there might have been situations that might have pushed your nerves a little. Can you share if there's anything recently that still has made you nervous?
Nicky never believes it when I say this, and I've known Nicky for a long, long time, as I have many of you here. I am nervous every time I speak, absolutely nervous. And it's not just the butterflies flying in formation, it's how many of them and how many formations are actually going on there. And if I'm not nervous, I know that I won't have that almost spontaneity and sincerity. And I don't think, for me, I don't reach an audience if I don't have that sense beforehand of feeling the nerves. For me, it's about the nerves mean that I'm respecting that I have to give of my best. And yes, I have absolutely been stretched in the last 9 months as much as I was stretched for that first icebreaker. And I think that's good for me. Scary, but good. And that's one of the things that, and I know you'll probably get onto this, Nicky, but it's that constant challenge that is really good for us and keeps us being young, if you like, keeps that mindset searching. And, you know, all of us face challenges. I remember that time that Bevan was talking about, and I have to just bring this in here. And he underestimates himself there. Yeah, he didn't win the election, but he continued to give in Toastmasters. And for many people, one so-called failure means that they go away, they leave the organisation, the job, whatever it is. But Bevan stayed. And I think that's one of the important aspects. Bevan stayed and he continued to give. All right, he wasn't giving in a district, as we called it, a top 3 role then, but he has continuously and constantly giving back to the organisation. And I think that failure, that wasn't really a failure, assisted that.
Yeah. Look, I've always had Tropic City to climb back into. You know, that's my home. That's where I got really good friends, you know. And I just love working with those guys. And even though I'm in another club as well, Townsville City Council, they're a great club as well. But Tropic City being my first club and home club, so they've always been a protection for me, you might say.
I think we all nurture.
Sorry?
Go ahead, Sandra.
So to say, I think we all nurture our home club. I mean, I've still stayed a member of Narang Club down on the Gold Coast, and it was great during the recent times of doing Zoom meetings that I could actually get back and attend regular meetings with them on Zoom, and that was fantastic to meet all the people that have joined in the many years, since the club was formed when I first joined. And now when I get the programs come through to me or what have you, I can put faces to the names and that. So it was marvellous to go back to what I consider my home club, and I'm the only charter member that's left around as a member of that club as well. So it was great to go back and see them and be appreciated by them, and they were more. It was amazing to me how much they wanted to know about me and that as such, because they kept seeing my name come up. So it was nice for them to put a face to it as well. So we have that, I suppose, rapport back with our home club all the time.
Yeah, we certainly do.
Yeah, I still remember my home club very fondly as well. I'm lucky it's just down the road, but yeah, I know what you mean. I have a really strong affection for them. Sandra, anything that makes you nervous? I've never seen Sandra Simpson nervous.
No, neither I.
I get very nervous. I think it's a case between nervous and worry. I get very worried and concerned and very built up that way before I go to do anything. But I think once I get up, then it's a case of I don't want to make a fool of myself. I've got to do this properly and that sort of thing. But yeah, I do get nervous beforehand, but not as bad as like Claire gets very nervous and even gets to the point of feeling sick and that. I don't get to that stage, but I do certainly get nervous or worry before I stand up and do something. But I think once I stand up, then as Leslie's saying, you're putting your best face on, and you're only letting yourself down if you don't do it to the best of your advantage, and you're letting your audience down by not hearing the best of you.
That's so true. In fact, that augments into a question I have for everybody. What advice would we give to ourselves as brand new first year Toastmasters, particularly to tackling this? If we look back and think about ourselves as those early nervous wrecks, there's no living in the now quite like walking to the lectern to deliver a speech, especially in those early days. What kind of advice would we give to ourselves about tackling that?
Just get up and do it.
Comes to mind is practice.
Yeah. Oh, practice.
That's the first word, practice. Like practice, at home, that we have these wonderful things called iPhones now where you can video yourself so that you can check your gestures and facial expressions. Practice is the first step. I'm sure there's lots of other techniques, but that's what I would give myself, the tip I would give myself first.
Yep.
And Bevan, yours is just do it, the Nike logo.
Look, just get up and do it. Have a go. The more you speak, the more confident you're going to become. So don't refuse. Look, these days there's quite a few Toastmasters that say, I don't want to speak now. I don't want to speak this month. You know, and you say, well, what are you here for? You got to get up and do it.
You're the
I
master of
think I'm
encouragement.
becoming a cranky old bugger.
But I think that
What
is
do you
it.
think?
You know what? I just got to tell you this. Since the 1st of July, I have completed 2 levels. I'm VPE of a club, and I fill in when one of the speakers are not there. And I've just about spoken nearly every week. And I talk about preparation. I absolutely refuse to allow the opportunity for a speaker or not to fill in a speaker's role in the club. So I just take it on board. I mean, the first 2 levels of any path are all the same, really, aren't they? You start off with the icebreaker, blah, blah, blah. So, no, well, I get up and speak, and sometimes we just got to put it together there and then, and hopefully it'll work. But it's only through practice like that, doing it, getting in and doing it. And who did he say? Dr. Smedley says ours is a doing organisation. So get in and do it.
Real world speaking, I do a bit of pro speaking now, and in the real world, sometimes I have to wing it. Someone says, we've got 10 minutes to fill. Nicky, can you jump up on stage, please? And that's where the experience that you're talking about, Bevan, don't miss those opportunities, because they can give you some really good transferable skills. Yeah, It might not be the best speech you've ever delivered, but it certainly can give you some mileage in other spaces. Leslie, what advice would you give to yourself back in the early days?
Well, I agree with everything that everyone said, and I wish that I'd taken every opportunity that I was offered, and I don't think I did then. And you know, I don't know that I necessarily still do. I'm only in 2 clubs, and for many they're in a heap of clubs, but I'm in 2, and I don't always say yes to a speaking role because I think, oh, I'll let someone else take it. I don't want to push myself forward. But the other thing is that I wish every member had the club that I had when I started, and that was Whitsunday Club. I'm not saying that other clubs haven't been that, but the Whitsunday, I mean, the first Toastmaster I met was a white rabbit, truly. And I'm still friends with that Toastmaster nearly 30 years later, had coffee with her a week ago. Yes, she's moved to where I've moved. And this club was such fun. But what I didn't realise then, and I think I'm only realising it when I look back, is we talk about Toastmasters and especially our club environment being a safe environment in which to fail and in which to practice. And I don't think I really realised that then, and I think we need to say that more to our new members. You know, it's okay to not do the best you wanted to do. It's okay to do what you think might be failure. That's just another step to achieving what you want to achieve. But this is a safe environment where you're amongst friends and where everybody respects each other, or should do.
Yeah. So your advice to yourself would be to, similar to Bevan's, to give it a go and clock up that experience. Yeah, excellent. Sandra, how about you? Where do you sit with your early Toastmasters self?
Well, my early Toastmasters self, the first couple of meetings that I went to, I refused to say a word to anybody. But I learnt a bit more than that. But I think the advantage that I gained, I was lucky from the point of view that we started a brand new club, and our sponsors and mentors more or less left us after their permitted time. And we were suddenly all new to Toastmasters, standing there looking at ourselves, being elected to the officer roles, and what do we do now type situation. And we all helped each other, and I think that's the big thing in Toastmasters as well. Another Toastmaster will always help you and help you along, and we trained ourselves up in a way, but we got to learn a lot because there was nobody to tell us quite locally. So we learned for ourselves, and we grew with that and grew with the knowledge of Toastmasters. So I was grateful for being a person who wouldn't say boo to a goose, to being given the opportunity to actually start talking and become more proficient at it and be happy to do it.
I would say that support and that camaraderie that you've just touched on there is probably the reason I'm still here. That I've had so many people along the way that's been, like Bevan, sometimes a pushy encourager, or other people who've been more of a gentle, come on, maybe give this a more serious thought. And I wonder about our roles in Toastmasters now with regards to mentoring. Do we still have mentors at this time? Or are we mostly finding ourselves being the mentor? Who would like to share a bit of their story of mentoring with us?
Can I speak? I didn't realize the value of a mentor because I didn't get a sense that in my first club, I don't even remember if I had one. But once I became an area director and I approached Marilyn to be my mentor, that was the biggest gift I was given by Marilyn, because she said yes, but the biggest gift I gave myself, because that was the key for me to have somebody to get advice from, to discuss things with, and to have that conversation. And of course, then I got the courage to ask other people to mentor me in other roles. And that mentoring thing is just fabulous. Like, just to have that other person to have a conversation with about something that's on your mind so that you can work it out, whether it's a leadership issue or whether it's a speech issue. I can't speak more highly enough of that mentoring opportunity. It's just great.
And do you still have mentors today, Marietta?
Absolutely. I'm never going to not have a mentor now that I know how good it is. Like, absolutely. Yeah. Wouldn't want to stop that at all. And what I'm also grateful is that I'm learning through the role modeling that I've been able to experience. And now I'm starting to be mentors for others. And I must admit, I've got some good tips from that Pathways mentoring unit.
Oh,
that
tell
has
us one.
helped me be a better mentor, because I've learnt from that Pathways mentoring unit. So every day is a learning day, people.
What about you, Sandra? Do you still have some mentors?
I suppose I'm lucky living near Claire, and I always use her as my sounding block. So whenever it's mentor, I always put Claire down as my mentor, because that's, I suppose, in a way that's easy as well. But I can just talk to her and throw ideas past her, and is this okay, that okay, etc., etc. But what we've done at one of my clubs, we had virtually all the committee going in this year, all fairly or new to those roles, and fairly new to Toastmasters as well. So 3 of us in the club that have been there since the beginning and have stepped back have taken on roles. I'm the mentor for the committee roles. Carol is a mentor for the club roles, and Ruth's a mentor for everything else. So, but it's really good, because I've had a couple of people phone me up in recent time. Oh, can you explain this to me? Can you come and tell me this? And we've gone and had a coffee and sat down and chatted over it. And I think that in a way is often is working better in a way than having an individual mentor, because you're looking at the bigger picture rather than just a small one.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Well,
What have you got to say about mentoring?
In Townsville City Council, we use the immediate past president to be the chief mentor, and he or she makes up a group of people with a mentor. And during club meetings, we often break up for 10 minutes for the mentoring groups to get together and talk to one another about what their challenges are. And it works quite well. So one mentor has about 4 mentees in a group that meets irregularly to help one another. And of course, the opportunity is there for mentees or mentors to contact each other independently of that as well. but it's very strong and it works quite well there at Townsville City Council. Whereas in Tropic City, we got mentors and mentees, and it's not working that well. I'll put it all together, but anyway, it's another little challenge that one has to overcome. But Townsville City Council works really well.
I had a mentor very early on in my Toastmasters life who told me that people don't make mistakes. There's only system mistakes. And it's something that I've really adopted into my business. And what you've just said there, Bevan, sounds exactly like what he would say in Tropic City. It's a systems mistake. It's not really working out yet. But in Townsville City Council, they've got it totally sorted. That's an excellent system. Yeah, it's really good. What about you, Leslie? Do you draw on your mentors? Do you still have them, or do you find yourself mostly mentoring people now?
Both, Nicky, but I don't know what I'd do without having mentors. So I have mentors that I've had for a while, and I was lucky because, again, in my first club, mentoring was very strong. And what Bevan says about Townsville City Council and what Sandra says about Magnetic North, they're pretty rare around the world, informal, if you like, mentoring programs. Many clubs say they have a mentoring program, but they don't, it's in name only. But I draw on my mentors all the time. And often it's just to go to vent. I remember when I was in the district trio, and I used to, because I lived up north, I'd come down and I'd stay with past district governor Barry Fuller. And I'd walk in that door after a meeting and I would vent. And he would just listen. He'd just listen. And he really taught me the value in a successful mentoring relationship of listening. And at the end, he'd go, so what do you think you should do? So he made me part of the solution, not continuing to be part of the problem. On the board, we have a formal mentoring program. So I have a second-year board member to mentor me, and that's very new. But, then there's other mentors that continue. But I love to mentor people. So I think accidentally I've just gained another mentor from Texas today, a mentee from Texas today. And I kind of don't really know how that happened, but I think it's great. And that's going to be interesting. I just love, mentors gain far more than the mentees or proteges. When they see their mentees just grow and sometimes totally exceed them in where they've gone, it's just wonderful to see it. They're such precious moments. So I think mentoring in Toastmasters is invaluable.
Some of these relationships sounds like they've transgressed the world of mentoring, and really we have Toastmasters besties now. So Marietta has Marilyn and Sandra has Claire. They're our Toastmasters besties. And of course, in your case, Leslie, your husband's also in Toastmasters like mine is, and he hears everything too. So I guess we also have our Toastmasters besties in a sense. Yeah, I really have enjoyed all of the mentoring relationships I've been part of, both the formal and the informal ones. And I agree with you. You learn so much from your mentees, and seeing their new perspectives on things, I feel like that's what helps keep me fresh. I don't know if you feel the same. Yeah, they give me a run for my money. All right, now to finish us off today, I thought we would talk about two things in very typical Toastmasters style. In an evaluation sense, I'd love to hear from you about what is Toastmasters doing really well, and what do you think we can improve upon? And so remember, in the world of evaluation, we should give some both what we should improve and how we should improve it. So I'd love to hear your ideas on what are we doing well and where should we go from here? Who'd like to kick us off?
It depends. I find it depends on the club, how strong they are pushing evaluations. I mean, the two clubs I'm in, they're quite different from one another. And I think it's got something to do with the maturity of the members, perhaps their education standards too. But Townsville City Council evaluations are very good. Tropic City is a bit average. Because people just still seem to think that evaluation is about content, or they're using the pathways evaluation sheet as their verbal evaluation.
Bevan, I might have given you a bum steer with my questioning. I was suggesting that we should evaluate Toastmasters.
Oh, evaluate Toastmasters.
What do you think we're doing well as an organisation, and where do you think we could improve?
Oh, as an organisation, it's going through a lot of change at the moment, and you know, I just feel some of the younger people are not hacking it, you know, and whereas us old buggers, you might say, we just go with the flow, and what comes in as this pathways, which copped a lot of criticism in the early stages, a lot of young people are carrying on like pork chops, but the older ones went for it and go for it, and we just take it in and persevere. So the new education system, I think, is certainly challenging, and it's a new dimension for us, and it's all digital now. So yep, I like it.
So for all of us, Pathways wasn't our first big educational overhaul, though. We all remember the days of CTMs as well, and that big change as well. So perhaps that's why we've coped so well, Bevan. It's not our first rodeo, so to speak.
That's right.
I think, sorry.
Go for it, Sandra. Jump in.
Oh, just going to say, I found in the clubs, a couple of clubs in towns that I'm a member of, we've got a lot of new members who have only ever seen Pathways, and they just love it and really work on it, and it flows through really well. I find it's the older hands that have said, oh, some have said this is great, and I found it was great from the point of view it gave me something new to do. I've been through the other manuals so many times, and although, as Bevan said, the first two paths are similar, you've still got a lot more freedom to create your speeches, and that I feel within Pathways, and there's still plenty of other paths to go through, and it's challenging you more than the speeches did in the CC manuals and the advanced manuals that we used to have. So, I find all our new members they don't know anything else, and they just get into Pathways and love it.
And so what do you think we're doing really well, Sandra, other than Pathways? Do you have something on your mind that you really like?
I think in some ways we're not explaining evaluations correctly. And I think people come in, and as Bevan said, you get people and they just read the evaluation as per the second sheet in Pathways. The same thing people used to do in the old days with the CTM manual as well. They'd read that and we never seem to be able to get the message out. That's not the idea. You do a verbal evaluation opinion of your opinion of that person's speech. Then afterwards you write down the answers to the questions that you're asked. And I think we still have getting out the mixture that there are two different parts to an evaluation.
Yep.
And that's particular to various clubs. Various clubs explain, put in a lot of effort in terms of evaluations, and that is even a criteria for joining the club. So I heard at the Bunya Club something, that you had to be good at evaluations before you could even join that club. So to me, the evaluation is, I agree with what Sandra and Bevan said, and that is something which every club has to work on. But as an organisation, I would like some focus on how to improve the leadership training. Is leadership only learned through experience? Is there not something in terms of big picture thinking and care for your people and that sort of thing that could not also be included in the manuals and education of our club leaders and our district leaders? Personally, I just don't feel like they give you a list of jobs that you have to do. But for me, personally, that's not training. But maybe it's because I've lived longer and I recognise the difference. Maybe that managerial stuff is the first step, but I'd like Toastmasters to offer the next step. And I'd also like some recognition for retention. Clubs do a lot of work to keep their members. And there is I don't feel that there's any recognition in our Distinguished Club program or any other program that acknowledges that. And I think that would be nice. I think that would
It
be a
used to,
big organisational thing that we could improve on.
I agree with you 100%, Marita. And that used to always be there. That was when I first joined, retention was part of the DCP program, so to speak. And you had to retain so many members as a definite point to gain for the club. So, and I think the best thing what Toastmasters could do will be to bring that back, because I think that would encourage people to retain their members in the club and work harder even to maintain them and keep them, and feel that, and everybody feels satisfied about it.
World of marketing, they say that the easiest customer to gain is the one you've already got.
That's
so
right.
You
Yeah.
can sell to your existing customers much more easily. So I can see, yeah, I agree. Retention should be a bigger part of our program. Now, Leslie, you're in a very unique spot because you've been talking to just about every district in the world over the last 9 months. And so you've probably heard problems that we don't even know exist all over. Can you share your thoughts in this arena?
Thanks, Nicky, and everyone. And how much time have we got? But it's been an incredible privilege to talk to members around the world, not just district trios, but their members as well. And, you know, to really get an appreciation of the fact that we are a global organisation. So, you know, what are we doing well as an organisation? Well, look at places like Japan, 76% retention compared to the average, which is in the 50s and 60s. And our own district, District 69, did quite well last year without realising they would be up for a recognition done in the times of COVID. So, you know, we're doing that well in some of our districts. You know, we're growing incredibly fast in India, but India also wants to retain members, and they don't do that so well either. So It's about global sharing. You know, what we're doing well is we're doing things like in our own region, and for those who are listening, we're part of Region 12. So we've got Australia, New Zealand, part of Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. So in District 87, that last one I mentioned, they have about 10 clubs that use Bahasa, their local language, and we are allowing translations there for their clubs. So we're doing really well in trying to improve the translations. But, you know, what I was listening to at the beginning was about change. So what's that saying in Australia? The only constants in life are change and taxes. And change is a constant, but as people, we don't necessarily manage it really well. So I think sometimes as an organisation, we need to look more closely at how we manage change and implement change and what sort of impact that is on our members. And I think if we go back to those 4 core values, sometimes that aspect of respect is lost. So yes, we need to do things differently, but sometimes our members don't always do that communication of disenchantment, disappointment, concerns in a respectful fashion. So how do we do that? I think we need to look at what are our members saying, but how best can they communicate that to the organisation? You know, and the board is there to listen to members, and it is, you know, it's difficult. And I'm not doing a party political announcement here, but I think that as an organisation, we're aware that we need to manage change better than we have been, and we need to implement change in a way that will have the most positive impact on our members. And, you know, I was in Tanzania about 8 or 9 hours ago in the middle of the night. How fascinating, you know, going to clubs around the world. And at that was a past international president and also International President Richard Peck. And I came away from that meeting and thought, that's what it's all about. That's what our clubs are. They are fun. They are having initiatives. They are learning, and they're communicating with each other. And those sorts of things just give me incredible hope for our organisation.
sharing. Now, to finish us off, you know, the typical evaluation hamburger, I'm going to ask you all, what's the biggest skill you think you've taken from Toastmasters? What's the thing that sticks with you? And I'll kick off. I'll tell you that the unexpected skill that I gained through my Toastmasters life has been confidence. I didn't enter it for confidence. I entered it to learn about public speaking, and that's the trade-off for me. Is I feel so much more confident in interacting with other humans, be it on the telephone, in person, on stage. That was my big skill. So, Sandra, what's yours? What's your transferable skill?
I was going to say, you've just taken the words out of my mouth, because I was going to say confidence as well. Because I joined to socialise with other people as such. I was a trainer at work, so I was used to training people on computers and that. But the minute you got me out of my comfort zone, where I knew more than they did, and when I was training them, and I was suddenly the one that needed to be trained, I was sort of totally lost. And I think, you know, Toastmasters, well, I know 100%, as you said, has just built up my own confidence. And even if I sometimes think, oh, I can't do that, I say, yes, you can. You're a Toastmaster. You go and do it and know what to do.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sandra. What about you, Bevan? What's your big takeaway?
Mine is confidence in communication. I first started off as a VPPR, and I thought, well, how am I going to promote Tropic City? And I decided to start communicating with MPs, you know, politicians, mayors, and all the upper business, or should I say the businessmen of Townsville, to get them to recognise Toastmasters. And from that, it's led right through, you know, one of the most wonderful things that I believe I was able to do was to have a garden party at the Australian Embassy in Washington. And I just went through politicians, and it was all there. And what was his name? Hockey was so wild about coming along to see us Toastmasters, and particularly Mike as our new international president. I thought, well, what has Toastmasters done for me? And I put it all down to that, being able to communicate.
That's fantastic.
So I'm thankful for that.
What about you, Leslie? What's been your transferable skill?
Oh, absolutely listening. I have learned to listen to not just other Toastmasters and now committees, other board members, but also listening to my husband occasionally, our children, our grandchildren. But yes, listening for me has been the most vital skill.
Fascinating, because we don't often think about listening as a skill, but you're absolutely right. All right, Marietta, finish this off. What's yours?
As a teacher, people expect you to be able to just do so many things because you have to be so many people in the one room. For me, Toastmasters has given me the confidence, especially doing the executive roles, because, you know, being the treasurer, the secretary, the VP, VPR, PPR, being the president, you're expected to fulfill so many different tasks and you learn so many different things. And having that breadth of different experiences has given me so much more confidence. So, yeah, I'm very grateful for that confidence that I've got through Toastmasters because of all those experiences.
Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us on this Sunday afternoon. I want to share with you two gems that I got out of today. I'm going to pick on both Leslie and Marietta. I'll tell you the gem I got from Leslie was that Toastmasters keeps us young by keeping our minds active and giving us constant challenges. I really love that. I'm going to keep that one. And from Marietta, this one I think I'll be sharing, sprinkling with others very liberally, is the biggest gift I gave myself was a mentor. I just love that. I think that's something that we could probably share among our clubs. So thank you all for giving up your Sunday afternoon, and a huge thank you to Simon Cornwall, who's in the background running our tech right now, who's been controlling our speaker view. He's broadcast us onto Facebook. So thanks so much to Simon for sharing your skills and for mentoring us through the tech of Zoom. So I really appreciate it. With that, over and out.